Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it 6, for a dragon's age.
Hey, it's Baz, filmmaker, dad, and the guy behind 20 Minute Gamer. Today I'm diving back into Spyro the Dragon, which was originally released on the PlayStation 1 in 1998, and I've played it here via emulation on the PC. If you know my channel, you know that I recently did a big video on this game as part of my Games That Changed Me series, and with good reason. Spyro was the first game I ever played on my brand new PlayStation back in Christmas 1998. It's been my cozy seasonal tradition ever since. As soon as the weather cools, I reach for Spyro. It just takes me right back to those Christmas morning vibes, pyjamas, Terry's chocolate orange, and that magical boot-up sound. But today, I wanted to revisit it properly, not just through nostalgia goggles, but through the 20-minute gamer lens. Does it still hold up? Does it hook you? Or is it one of those classics that's better remembered than replayed? Let's see. Story. So the story really isn't the selling point here, but it does set everything up cleanly. A nasty villain turns all of the adult dragons into crystal statues, and Spyro, being small enough to dodge the spell, sets out to rescue them and save the dragon realms. It's simple, but it's enough. And actually, a lot of the storytelling happens in the world itself, so things like the architecture, the landscapes, the different dragon families, the tiny touches that imply this magical place existed long before you arrived. The game does hint at a bigger world, something that's further expanded in Spyro 2 and Spyro 3, but even here you do get the sense of visiting unique locations where different types of dragons once lived. If you're coming purely for that grip and narrative in your first 20 minutes, then it's not going to happen, sorry, but for the actual audience, children in the late 90s, this was more than enough to spark the imagination. Score, 6 out of 10. Controls. Spyro is simple to control. You can move, jump, charge, and breathe fire, and honestly, that's all you really need. Charging around the small open worlds feels brilliant. Fast, energetic, and surprisingly smooth, even if you'll absolutely plow headfirst into a few walls along the way. Which, to be fair, I did this constantly in 1998 too, so I can't blame old age for this one. The flying stages introduced a new control scheme, and they're definitely the clunkiest part of the game today. Turning in mid-air feels awkward, you'll overshoot your targets, you'll miss archers by a pixel and so on, you know the drill. But the core gameplay is fluid enough that exploring, fighting enemies and platforming all feels very satisfying even today. For an early 3D platformer, Spyro absolutely nailed the sense of freedom, the idea that you could explore wherever you wanted. For me as a kid, it was absolutely mind-blowing. Score, 7 out of 10. Atmosphere. This is where Spyro completely wins for me. I have such a deep emotional connection to this game, but even when I try to be fairly objective, the atmosphere is still one of the best things about it. Exploring these whimsical worlds for the first time felt like stepping into a magical storybook, and even today, booting it up gives me that same sense of warmth. The mix of world design, pacing, music, and little secrets create an experience that sucks you in without even realizing it. In my 20 minutes, I genuinely forgot to check the timer, which is always the sign of a great game on this channel. And the variety in those opening minutes is unbelievable, to be honest. There's the hub world, multiple levels, there's day to night levels, enemies, a boss fight, and even a fly-in stage. For 20 minutes, it's absolutely packed and very immersive. Score, 9 out of 10. Music and sound. Right, voices first. In 1998, having fully voiced characters everywhere, that's the dragons, the enemies, the boss grunts and so on, was absolutely mind-blowing. It made the whole game feel like a Saturday morning cartoon. The sound design is just as charming. Magical twinkles, punchy impacts, and the incredibly satisfying crunch of smashing those gem boxes. Now the music, yeah, this is the tough bit to be objective about. Stuart Copeland's soundtrack genuinely shaped my taste in music. Even hearing the first 3 seconds of the Artisan's theme or the Dark Hollow theme instantly teleports me back to my childhood. Even trying to look at it critically, the compositions do hold up. They're catchy, they're beautifully arranged, and still sound absolutely fantastic despite being almost 30 years old. Sure, it's not dynamic, adaptive music like you would get nowadays, but what's there fits each level absolutely perfectly. I have to give this 10 out of 10. Graphics and style. Visually, Spyro is a standout for the PS1 era, not because it was technically cutting edge, but because the art direction was absolutely spot on. Every enemy, dragon, and environment feels very coherent. The skyboxes stretch into the infinity and just beg you to explore them. The colours are vibrant but still grounded in a unified palette. This world feels magical, inviting, and somehow bigger than the PS1 should have been able to handle. An example of the design is the variety in the gem chests, all of which work differently. It just shows how much love went into the design. They could all have been identical, but instead each one feels like its own little puzzle. There's some that are fireproof, there's some that you have to smash, some you have to breathe fire on and make them spin and explode, and others where you have to give them a nod and then jump and catch the gem that flies out the top of them. Even the bad guys are memorable. Those dogs in Toasty levels still creep me out even now. Yes, it looks rough around the edges today, but the style has absolutely survived the test of time. Score, 8 out of 10. Gameplay. Spyro's structure is simple. You explore hubs, enter little portal levels, collect gems, rescue dragons, and eventually unlock more worlds. But the variety in those actions, especially in the first 20 minutes, is impressive. In that tiny window, I cleared multiple levels, I beat a boss, I did a flying stage, and I collected enough gems to move on to the next world. Partly because I know where everything is, sure, but even without that advantage, new players will get a great taste of platforming, exploration, combat, and flight. All the enemies tend to behave differently too. Some of them will run away early on, and others charge at you aggressively, especially those dogs that just jump at you. And some require pretty specific approaches in order to defeat them. It does keep you thinking, but it never really overwhelms you. For an opening to a game, it's superb. Score, 8 out of 10. The standout moment for me, nostalgia-wise, it was hearing the opening notes of Artisans or Dark Hollow. It's kind of unbeatable. But in terms of pure gameplay highlights, discovering that the big scary toasty boss is actually just a sheep on stilts will always be pretty funny. So is this still worth 20 minutes? Absolutely. I absolutely adored Spyro in 1998 and I still adore it now. If you're new to the series, I'd probably suggest starting with the Reignited trilogy so you get more modern visuals and smoother controls, but the original, it still holds up. Spyro is my first proper 3D platformer. I'd never played Mario or Sonic, and it set the bar incredibly high. The style, the world design, the music, the characters, everything just clicked. It's a little magic platformer that really has stood the test of time. Final score, 8 out of 10. So what about you? Did you grow up with Spyro? Do you prefer the original trilogy or did you like the remakes? And what's the most nostalgic game you've ever played? If you're anything like me, you don't have hours and hours to sink into every game, and that's why I test whether a game can hook you in just those first 20 minutes. Thanks for watching, please give me a like and subscribe, it really does help, and I will see you in the next one.
Welcome to Peacekeepers, Spyro. Look how our treasure has been turned against us and stolen. Recover our treasure, Spyro.
Collect treasure. Got it.